Today, we're going to dig into one of the most powerful stories for understanding the human mind. Seriously. It's a super simple analogy about a snake and a rope, but believe me, it holds the key to why we suffer, how our brains trick us every single day, and most importantly, what on earth we can do about it.
So let me just ask you this right up front. What if your biggest fears, the ones that circle around in your head at 3 a.m., what if they were just an illusion? What if they were based on a total misreading of reality? Okay, so here's the classic story from Vedantic philosophy. Picture this. A man is walking down a path as the sun is setting. It's getting dark. He looks down and sees something coiled up, and his heart just stops. Snake! Instantly, adrenaline courses through him, his mind is racing, he is completely paralyzed by pure terror. His suffering in that moment, it is 100% real. But then, a bit more light shines on the path, and he realizes it's just an old frayed piece of rope.
Now, the man's suffering was absolutely real, but the snake was not. And this isn't just some cute ancient story. Nope, it's actually a really precise model for how our minds are constantly creating illusions that cause us real pain. So let's break down how this whole thing actually works. This little story really shows us there are two things going on here. On one side, you have the rope. That's just reality. It's the basis, the particular actual thing that is physically there. And then on the other side, you have the snake. That's the illusion, our mental projection. It's the universal concept of danger and fear that our mind just slaps right on top of reality. This mental trick has a name. It's called superimposition. In Sanskrit, they call it vikalpa. It's literally the mental act of projecting a concept, like snake, onto something completely neutral, like a rope. And that projection becomes like a veil, totally obscuring what's actually there. We stop seeing the rope, and we can only see the snake that our own mind created. And think about how our own minds direct this process. A word can point to the particular, like the specific frayed texture of this one rope, or it can trigger a huge, general, universal concept, everything we think and feel about the word snake. It's our intention, our focus, and especially our fears that decide which one we see. Our mind literally chooses whether to see what's actually there or to see the projection it prefers. Okay, so if our minds are constantly layering illusions onto reality, what do? How do we stop it? How do we finally see the rope for just being a rope? Well, turns out there's an ancient philosophical tool for exactly this, and it's all about the power of unsaying. It's a practice called apophasis. The easiest way to think about it is like a mental cleanse. It's a method for systematically taking away, or unsaying, all the labels, all the judgments, all the fears, all those snakes that we've projected onto the world. It's about trying to get back to the raw, unfiltered data of reality. And this right here is the most important part. Apotheosis is the negation of the measure, not of the measured. What does that mean? It means we're not denying reality exists. We're not saying the rope isn't there. The rope is real. What we're doing is getting rid of our measure of it, our labels, our concepts. We're putting down the faulty mental ruler we used to mismeasure it as a snake. So this unsaying thing happens in about 3 steps. First, the method. You consciously and actively just remove the universal concept, the snake. You just decide not to see it. Second, the result. Doing this helps you build a kind of attentive sensuality, where you're perceiving the world directly without your ideas getting in the way. And finally, you get to see the object itself, the irreducible particularity, not just a rope, but this rope, and all its unique, one-of-a-kind detail. And when you start to practice this, something really profound begins to happen. The world doesn't become empty or boring. Actually, it becomes infinitely more interesting and detailed. Look, the goal isn't to become ignorant or walk around with an empty head. It's the total opposite. It's about sharpening your perception. You still have all your knowledge. You just stop mistaking your map of reality for reality itself. You hold your concepts a little more loosely, and that lets you see the unique, unrepeatable truth of every single moment. And the benefits here are so practical. You start seeing individual people, not just the neat little categories you've put them in. You experience the world more directly, more intensely. So much of our anxiety, which comes from reacting to imaginary snakes, just starts to melt away. You begin to really appreciate diversity and difference, because you're not trying to make everything fit your preconceived notions. You basically awaken to all the amazing stuff your mental labels were forcing you to ignore. This ancient idea is really fascinating to talk about, but its real power is in how you can use it. So
how do we start seeing beyond our own projections in our actual day-to-day lives? This is really the question you have to ask yourself. What are the snakes you project onto your world? Is a tough project at work a snake that you've labeled "I'm going to fail"? Is a critical comment from someone a snake that you call rejection? Is a weird feeling in your body a snake you've named catastrophe? We all have our personal snakes, these go-to projections that we constantly throw onto the neutral ropes of our lives. The beautiful thing here is that this isn't just a theory. It is a practical tool. This whole idea gives you a way to pause and just ask, hold on, am I seeing a snake here, or am I actually just looking at a rope? It gives you the power to question the automatic stories your mind spits out about everything, especially the things that scare you. And here is probably the most empowering piece of all of this. The first step is just realizing that you are the one doing the measuring. You aren't a victim of your perceptions, you are the one applying the labels. And if you're the one doing it, that means you can learn to do it differently. You can choose to approach the world not with fear and rigid boxes, but with humility and awe and wonder. So I'll just leave you with this thought. What if you could get just a little bit better at telling the difference between a real threat and an imaginary one? If you could learn to see the rope as just a rope without the terrifying shadow of the snake you invented, what new freedom, what kind of clarity, what amazing reality might open up right in front of your eyes?